Hi everybody, today I will be the host of today to talk about why we have to fight for our own justice and rights, because there's lots of racial discrimination around us since the Civil War period in US 1861 to 1865. So this is a period that is important for all the communities, especially colored communities. We have to believe that one day there will be no racial discrimination, and the civil rights movement and Black Lives Matter movements have been disappeared in front of the audience. Before we jump into the right sections, let's talk about civil rights movement background. Civil rights movement background happened in 1960s, initiated with all the colored peoples, especially African American communities, want to get rid of restrictions, or they want to get liberty by the whites. However, they are now be succeed after the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s proposed "I Have a Dream" on August 28, 1963, in Lincoln Memorial. This speech proposed very successfully and get hushed by Congress Act in the same year, 1963. I'm going to play a short audio clip for "I Have a Dream" speech made by Martin Luther King Jr.
Still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, 'tis of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Thanks for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s sharing his speech, I Had a Dream. I believe everybody in the audience group have a dream that we all want to have a freedom wherever we are white or colorless communities. We want to be freedom by our parents. We want to be freedom by non-violence. We also want to be free for injustice. That's why there's still have lots of civil rights movement or Black Lives Matter movements exist now in 21st century. Jump into the second section, which is Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter movement is a new, fresh topic, which is also a new movement happened in 2013 compared with civil rights movement. Black Lives Matter movement is a very fresh movement for most of people to be heard about it. The recent Black Lives Matter movement was happening after coronavirus is called George Floyd's death nearby April of this year, 2020. There are 4 policemen trying to be attacking for Mr. Floyd, and one of the police kneel down using his knees, make George cannot breathe for whole 8 minutes. That's caused George died pretty terrified. Black Lives Matter movement happening right after the George Floyd death. This is a pretty biggest protest since the civil rights movement and the last Black Lives Matter movements. Former President Obama pretty defending about Black Lives Matter movements due to he is also a colorless group peoples. He want to claim that nobody want to be restricted by any group of the peoples, especially the peoples who have no freedom and no liberties. Let's hear about President Obama for defending Black Lives Matter movements.
I think the reason that the organizers used the phrase Black Lives Matters was not because they said they were suggesting nobody else's lives matter. Rather, what they were suggesting was there is a specific problem that is happening in the African American community that's not happening in other communities. And that is a legitimate issue that we've got to address. We as a society, particularly given our history, have to take this seriously. And one of the ways of avoiding the politics of this and losing the moment is everybody just stepping back for a second and understanding that the African American community is not just making this up. And it's not just something being politicized. It's real. And there's a history behind it. And we have to take it seriously. And it's incumbent then on the activists to also take seriously the tough job the police have.
Former President Obama is kind of be furious about it, about the movements that brings for all the Black Lives Matter movements, and he asserts that Black Lives Matter movements was not made by humans, is by a true fact that there is really have inequalities among all the colors communities. Due to this topic is pretty globally, I'm going to ask my two friends who is also the colors group communities who share about their opinions. The first one is a friend come from Shanghai. She wants to share her opinions about what she means for Black Lives Matter movements for her. Let's hear about her personal opinions.
For me, I think the civil rights movement and the BLM movement are necessary steps that we have to take on our way of pursuing equality and humanity. In order to make an improvement and to make a change, effort is required on both sides. Not only do minority groups have to try to voice themselves, the majority also needs to keep an open mind on things. And after decades and centuries of power imbalance and tension, we certainly cannot expect things to change overnight. And what we can do is just to continue speaking up and know that even if we don't get an immediate result, as long as we're still trying, we are still getting closer and closer to our destination.
Thanks for my friend for sharing her opinions about what she thinks about Black Lives Matter movements and civil rights movement to her, because there's lots of time for her to sharing her personal experience. I'm going to share mine. My personal opinions about for the Black Lives Matter movement and CRM, which is civil rights movement, is don't treat people like the way like your friends or families. Don't treat people like your enemies. Be nice, be friendly. That's all what I think. That's my friend claims. There's also another of my friends who named as Denise. She comes from New York. So she will share her personal opinions about it, what she thinks about Black Lives Matter movement and civil rights movement toward her.
It is important to learn about the civil rights movement because it is an essential aspect in American history. The movement was what began to have people to finally realize that racial segregation and discrimination against African Americans is a reality, and that this movement was what would lead change in the injustice and inequality in America that African Americans face on a daily basis. And it's important to learn about the struggle they had to go through to be where they are today. They're still fighting, as seen with the Black Lives Matter movement. It shows how the civil rights movement was only the beginning of an unending battle in combating against racial discrimination in our society.
Okay, it's pretty good perceptions about it for Black Lives Matter movements and civil rights movement for both of my friends' claims. Before we wrap up for our podcast, I just want to say for my personal experience, there are lots of ways that I can see that being an Asian, I have treated not like Black communities with inequalities eyes or isolated group. I feel like whether you are Asian or you are African Americans or Hispanics, there is no need to be segregated or there is no need for isolated. You have to learn that be friend with each other, whether they are friendly with you or they have different bad attitude with you. You have to keep smiling and you have to express your true feelings towards your friends, probably misunderstand you. There is no real enemy in front of this world. The real enemy from this world is yourself. you have to learn that one day there is no racial discrimination. One day these two movements probably will be disappearing in front of our eyes. Probably in our future generations, these things all be reduced, and everybody will be like Louis Armstrong saying, "By we shall come." We will work hand in hand. There is no need to be walking closer. There will be no walking by separated. Thanks for listening for my podcast. If you like my podcast, please feel free to subscribe my videos. I wish you like it and learn something from my podcast. Thank you for listening. And I'm deeply thankful for all my friends, Demi, who come from Shanghai, and New York friend, Denise. They all be truly friendly. And especially thanks for the audio clips Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have Dream in YouTube, and Obama defends Black Lives Matter movements in YouTube as well, and the song We Shall Come that I choose for themes. Thanks for listening. I hope you all have a great day. Bye. Take care.